Hi, my name is Sarah Surma, and for my Genius Hour project, I decided to focus on recreating a psychological study already conducted about 50 years ago by the psychologists Loftus and Palmer. Their study focused on something called the misinformation effect. And by definition, the misinformation effect is incorporating misleading information into one's memory of an event, which is basically the creation of a false memory through misleading information. As a quick overview, basically, I did a complete recreation of what Loftus and Palmer did, and basically what these psychologists did was they had a long list of volunteers and had each of them watch a video of a car crash. Now, after having each volunteer watch this car crash, these psychologists asked the volunteers a long list of questions. However, only one question was actually important for their study, and the question was about how fast were the cars going when they hit each other. Now, in this case, the word hit was the control group in the study, and the psychologists also switched that word in with the word collided, smashed, bumped, and contacted to see if the different variations in the verbs would affect the speeds that the volunteers would give them. And now what Loftus and Palmer found was that when the word was something like smashed, then the volunteers would give them larger numbers for the speeds. And when it was something like contacted or bumped, then the speeds were a lot lower, which went to show that the misinformation effect was actually in effect. And basically what I wanted to do was to see if I could recreate the same results as Loftus and Palmer. Last week, actually, I did my study, and it was really successful, and that was definitely a highlight of my whole project because I was actually finally able to do the survey after those long weeks of actually preparing for it and writing out an operational definition, which is a step-to-step of what I was going to do for my study. Now, as far as the hurdles or the obstacles in my project, my biggest hurdle was probably the fact that some of my volunteers did not show up last week. But I was able to find other volunteers, which is perfect because I was finally able to just get my study done, and it was definitely a success. I still have to look over all my results to see if I was actually able to recreate what Loftus and Palmer did. Now, I can't say that I'll be really doing much with this project after Genius Hour is over because I'll already have my results and there really isn't much that I can do with that afterwards. If I was able to actually recreate what Loftus and Palmer did, then I do get to prove that the misinformation effect is in fact real, and that really eyewitnesses in courts and such are really just subject to the misinformation effect depending on the kind of questions that they're being asked and how they're being asked. Now, a big inspiration for me to actually do this project was the fact that I'm really interested by psychology. I'm in AP psychology right now, and it's probably my favorite class, even though it is a little difficult. It's just so interesting, and I love to just know why people think certain ways and like how we're affected by our environment and the language and rhetoric, which also really goes in hand with the unit we just finished, which is another reason why I decided to do the misinformation effect for my Genius Hour project.